The first group of consonants that we'll cover are called the gutturals. You can find them here. These sounds are, as you can see written on your document, your sheet in front of you, they are arising from the throat. So all of these sounds are made from the throat and from the throat alone. They do not involve any use of the tongue or the teeth or the lips or any other part of the mouth, if there is any other part. It's all from the throat. So listen to me as I say these first 5 guttural sounds. Actually, I'll put my mouth in the corner so you can hear. Maybe I'll do it over here so you can hear better, closer to the microphone. K, k, g, g, n. K, k, g, g, n. One more time. Actually, I'll do it so my mouth can be seen. K, k, g, g, n. So you probably noticed, if you saw my mouth, that my tongue is not involved, my teeth are not involved, my lips are not involved. It's all not involved, all from the throat. K, k, g, g, n. Now, these are a pretty simple set of sounds. We don't need to dwell much on them. One thing I will mention is that you'll notice that some of them seem to have some extra air behind the sound, behind the consonant or after the consonant, as opposed to others that don't. And those are the ones that have an H next to them. For example, the non-aspirated, and when I say extra air, I'm talking about the aspirated version. Aspirated means it has extra air. It has an extra push of air after it. And the non-aspirated version, for example, of the letter K, which is written with the English letter K, it just sounds like this, K. But if you write an extra H after the K, then you have K, K. Now the difference between K and K is that you're going to make the aspirated version, the extra emphasized, extra air version of that, with the one with the H after it, you're going to actually contract your diaphragm. I'm going to give you an example here. It's just say the letter as you would if it were not aspirated, but as you're saying it, contract your diaphragm to give an extra push of extra air, and it makes it sound K instead of just K. So it looks like the diaphragm looks like this: K, K, G, G, N. K, K, G, G, N. See how the diaphragm contracts a little bit there? It pushes a little extra air to say the aspirated version of the consonants. And I'm making that point now because it will apply for all of the aspirated consonants that we will be learning, not just the gutturals, but in the other groups as well. So the first guttural is just written with a K. It's just like the English letter K, and it sounds like the K in kite. That's easy enough. Next one is K, just the aspirated version of that with a contraction of the diaphragm. And there's an example here actually from German, Eckhart, Eckhart. It's a pretty close example. We'll go with that for now. They give a Sanskrit example as well, Shri Mukhim, Shri Mukhim. That's a pretty good Sanskrit example, Shri Mukhim. So there's a little contraction of the diaphragm to give extra air as you're saying that K in the keem. And then we're on to the next one, G. It's just as the English letter G, and as it's pronounced in the word give. It's easy enough, no need to dwell on that. Then we go on to the aspirated version of that, the extra air version, G. I give an English example here, dig hard. It's pretty close, I guess. I'll give the Sanskrit example as well. Ghana, ghana, yay. Ghana, ghana, yay. If you could see my diaphragm, maybe I'll show you my diaphragm. Ghana, ghana, yay. Ghana, ghana, yay. You can't see it very well, but the diaphragm does contract to give that extra aspiration, extra air there on those. The last one in the gutturals group is the nasal guttural, which is written with a diacritical mark on it. Notice it has a dot on top of the letter N, and it's pronounced Now that changes it now. That changes the sound. So it's not not pronounced like the English letter N because it has a dot on top of it there. So it's a new sound. And it's pronounced as actually as the N in the English word sing. So it's from the throat, as are all of these consonants in the guttural group. They're all pronounced from the throat. So this is actually a pretty good English example. Sing, sing. So it's a nasal sound from the throat. Sanskrit example is shyamangim, shyamangim. And you can see that nasal guttural is there. Shyamang, right there. Shyamangim, shyamangim. Okay, so that concludes the guttural group of consonants. Next, we'll move on to the palatals. The next group of consonants we'll cover are called the palatals, and you'll find them on the next page. And they sound like this, reading across: ch, ch, j, j, nya, ch, ch, j, j, nya. Ch, ch, j, j, nya. So these sounds, these palatal sounds, are formed arising from the back of the palate. Teeth should come fully closed together to make these sounds. So the most important point on these sounds is that the teeth should come fully closed together. When you close your teeth together fully, it automatically pushes your tongue flat up against the roof of your mouth, up against the palate, and that's why they call these sounds the palatals. The first one is written with a C, and it's pronounced as the C in the English word cello. Cello, easy enough. Sanskrit example is brahmachari, brahmachari, brahmachari. And the next one is, it's written with a C followed by an H, and it's exactly the same as the C, as the ch sound, except it has a little extra air after it, or in other words, a little bit more aspiration following it. And remember, from the previous sounds, we talked about how to make extra aspiration. It's simply a matter of contracting the diaphragm as you say the consonant. So it's ch, ch. The difference is I'm just contracting the diaphragm on the aspirated version. First I'll say the non-aspirated version, then the aspirated. Ch, 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 ch. So here, this is going to be the same as the ch in cello, but with extra air and a contraction of the diaphragm to make the extra air. I give the English example of the ch-h in staunch heart. That's an okay example. I guess it's kind of contrived, but better example is this Sanskrit example that I give, which is Om Chandaha. What's the rest of it? Om Chandaha Sarayay Namaha. Om Chandaha Sarayay Namaha. Yeah, that's correct. Om Chandaha Sarayay Namaha. The next consonant in this palatal group is J, written with the English letter J, and it's quite easy. It's just the same as the English letter J. No difference whatsoever, like J and joy. Next one is JH. It's the same as J, except that it's aspirated. So there's a contraction of the diaphragm there to give that extra air. I give a contrived example here. It's hedgehog. The DGEH, as in the English word hedgehog. Hedgehog. That's a pretty close example, I guess. Better example is perhaps the Sanskrit words that are found in this little section of Mahishasura Mardini Stotram. Jhana jhana jhing jhimi jhing kritanu purashinjit. Like that, if people who know that one. Jhana jhana jhing jhimi jhing kritanu purashinjita mohita bhuta. I think it's something like that. Anyway, so if you watch my diaphragm as I do that, you will see it contract all the time. Jhana jhana jhing jhimi jhing kritan. Like that. Okay. The next palatal is ñ. It's written with the English letter N, but with a squiggly line over the top. That squiggly line is another form of diacritical mark, and they use that because it makes this letter look like the character ñ in the Spanish language. And in fact, there's good reason for making it look like the ñ character, as in the Spanish word año, which means year. They make it look like that because, in fact, it sounds very similar to the Spanish ñ character. But there is one subtle difference, and the difference is that this Sanskrit ñ character has the teeth fully closed together to begin the sound, whereas the Spanish ñ does not. So it's very much like the ny in canyon, also a pretty good example. That's the same as the Spanish ñ, as the ny in canyon. It's like that, except the teeth should come fully closed together at the beginning of the sound. So it would be as if you were saying canyon, canyon. See how my teeth come together to do that? Or año, my teeth come together. So that would be the difference between those English and Spanish examples and the actual way it's pronounced in Sanskrit. In the Sanskrit pronunciation, it's teeth fully closed together and then the ñ after that. So a Sanskrit example I don't have. I could think of one off the top of my head. Yajna, yajna, yajna. There's a good example. Okay, so that actually concludes then all of the palatals. And again, notice that these are all they all have one thing in common, and that is that the teeth come fully closed together to form each of them, and that's why they're all included in this one group called the palatals.